That was about as common a Bungles L as you could possibly have. What's up, you guys? I'm Ross Sapp. It is December 8th, 2025. This is the show that is supposed to be called Common Bengals W, but it's been Common Bungles L all season long. And quite frankly, pretty consistently for the last 3 seasons. And you might say, Sean, my God, you don't usually do a Monday show right after a Sunday show. Well, here I am. Here I am because the Bengals have done it again. Good job, guys. Good job, guys. The Cincinnati Bengals released Jermaine Burton. They waived him more appropriately. They're hoping somebody will just pick him up, give him a fresh start, is what Zach Taylor said. Trey Hendrickson is having surgery. He will miss at least 6 weeks, which means he is out for the year. He's done, possibly done as a Bengal. T. Higgins is back in concussion protocol after taking a few rough shots to the head that were honestly very scary. If you're here watching live, leave a thumbs up and get your chats in. Matt says, interesting what happens the next 4 games and if the team just rolls over. This team won't roll over. The defense might because they have been all year. But Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, they will not roll over. I had a funny comment that I responded to for one of my shorts that I posted. Please check out my shorts tab. But I had said they're wasting the prime years of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And I said that Jamar Chase is one of the best wide receivers of all time. And the guy goes, you lost all credibility when you said that. And I'm like, really? Really? From a pure talent standpoint, we're going to act like the guy who has had over 1,000 yards every single year is not up there? 50 touchdowns already, 2 All-Pros already, 4 Pro Bowls already, Rookie of the Year already, Triple Crown last year. And keep in mind, he had 1,000 yards when he only played 12 games in 22. He's got 1,000 yards already this year. Yes, he is one of the best wide receivers I've ever seen. He averages about 1,500 yards per 17 games. 12 touchdowns per 17 games. Yeah, one of the best. One of the best I've ever seen do it. But not one of the best I have ever seen do it is Jermaine Burton. And in fact, we haven't seen him do it at all this year. The Cincinnati Bengals took a very risky pick in 2024 with Jermaine Burton. TJ Hushmanzada went to bat for this guy. He was so excited. Zach Taylor was pumped. He was, yeah, one of those. He had off the field issues. He could barely get on the field. He had domestic issues. He got evicted from his home. He rolled up to the game in pajamas. He was allegedly sleeping through practices or not even showing up. And then when he got on the field, he absolutely sucked. He was ass once he got on the field. The limited amount of which we saw him was 14 targets, and he caught 4 passes. Now, granted, it was usually like a bomb when it was to him. He averaged like 26, 27 per, but very rarely did they connect. And this year he was not, he didn't play at all. Didn't play a snap this year. Didn't play a snap this year. Third round pick. Waived. We all knew it was coming. We all knew it had to happen eventually. T. Higgins did make him expendable. Or expendable? Expendable. There you go. Expendable. But T. Higgins is now in concussion protocol, which we'll get to later on. Jermaine Burton was an absolute waste of a pick. And what I hope is he isn't a waste of a human, because everything that we've seen with the domestic issues certainly leans that direction. And I hope that is something that is so far in his rear view that it never happens again. Certainly a wasted draft pick, wasted roster spot, everything. Terrible. This is one of the worst Cincinnati Bengals draft picks of all time. Probably, like, if we had to really, really go back and say, who was a worst third round pick? Like Chase Kaufman? I think that's probably, we could go back there because let's see, like, Burton did pull down 4 passes, right? Chase Kaufman ended up getting targeted 5 times, had 3 receptions. Never played again for the Bengals. That one was worse, 2009. So you have to go back 15 years for the Cincinnati Bengals to have had a worse third round pick. And there was maybe at no point of which the Bengals needed to hit a home run on their third round pick more than this 2024 season. You might say, Sean, well, you got to take a swing sometimes. Or you could just draft a sure thing. That's where the Cincinnati Bengals are. No more projects. They got lucky with Mims. Very lucky with Mims. They have to draft players that they know can just immediately perform. Because first off, they can't draft worth the damn anyway. Shamar Stewart, all right, a project, thanks. Amarius Mims, a project, thanks. Jermaine Burton in the third round, a project, thanks. McKinley Jackson, looking like a project in the third round, thanks. Miles Murphy, apparently a project. Okay. The Bengals have whiffed on so many first through third round picks in the Joe Burrow era. The Joe Burrow draft was a great first 3. Burrow, Higgins, Logan Wilson. Year 2, Jamar Chase. Joseph Osai came along. I like Joseph Osai. We'll talk more about him momentarily. Jackson Carman was a whiff. Dax Hill, certainly not a number 1 pick. Cam Taylor-Britt was good for about a year and a half. Whiff on a pick. He's probably not coming back. Zach Carter, whiff on a pick. Miles Murphy, whiff on a pick. Jordan Battle's been okay for a third. DJ Turner, incredible pick. Amarius Mims, pretty solid. Chris Jenkins getting there. Jermaine Burton, McKinley Jackson, whiffs. Shamar Stewart, whiff. Demetrius Knight, TBD. TBD there. Dylan Fairchild, pretty good. You got to hit at a better rate than that. And again, you might say, oh, well, Sean, what else was available? I'll tell you what was available. At wide receiver, Jalen McMillan, Troy Franklin were both available within a round after Jermaine Burton. If you needed a wide receiver that bad, in the moment, I would have preferred Jalen McMillan or Troy Franklin, and I don't know anything about college football. But I knew that we wouldn't have had to deal with the issues of which Jermaine Burton brings to the team. And he was suspended this week, and we don't know why. No transparency. Jalen McMillan hasn't even played this year. And he has over 4 times as many yards as Jermaine Burton. Luke McCaffrey was down there. Troy Franklin has 804 yards and 7 touchdowns. I understand that they're set at tight end and all that stuff, so you don't got to go Theo Johnson or Jatavion Sanders or anybody like that. So I'm fine with that. But they did take all in the fourth as well. You could have switched that around as well. What happened to Eric All was sadly predictable, though. But hey, maybe you want to shore up your defense, right? Is it Brandon Dorless that has 6 sacks this year as an edge? That sure would be nice, right? How about Cameron Kinchins? Bengals sure would love to have him, wouldn't they? Wouldn't it be great to have a incredible safety that drags down like 6 picks in his first 2 years? Occasional pick six. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Man. Evan Williams? Sure would have loved Evan Williams. That would have been nice to have a DB that is constantly a threat. No. Jermaine Burton, let's take the projects. The Cincinnati Bengals cannot take projects in this next draft. They can't. And Zach Taylor was so excited. This is another case of Zach Taylor needing to be out. And yesterday was my tipping point. And I like Zach Taylor as a guy. Hey, where's Tanner McLaughlin this year? Anybody know? How often do you see Dejon Anthony on the field? Matt Lee, Eric All. They haven't seen the field this year either. Jermaine Burton didn't see the field this year either. The Bengals had 10 draft picks last year. And as I am looking, like maybe half of them didn't see the field at all this season. It's embarrassing. And then they forced almost everybody this season to see the field. Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter were just thrown to the wolves. Like, don't go out and get, a veteran linebacker when you're letting Pratt go, huh? Which, by the way, he's I saw people say, oh, well, Logan Wilson, man. Logan Wilson, why do we let him go? He sucks in Dallas, too. I hate to tell you guys this. Dallas can't stand him. People in Dallas don't like him. They're seeing what we saw. It ain't much better. And now in this year's draft, you got to figure out what you got with Taj Brooks or do piecemeal with your running back because they're probably not going to bring Chase Brown back after his rookie deal. They won't be able to afford that. But let's talk about a situation of which the Bengals were right. Trey Hendrickson. Not happy that they were right. The reality is, if the Bengals did the right thing, and I've said this before, and you have, to me, if you have a top 10 player in the league at a position, you re-sign them. And by that, I mean the wide receiver, corner, safety, defensive end, stuff like that, where you've got basically 60 guys vying for starting spots. If you've got one of the top 5 to 10 guys, you sign them immediately. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, you sign them immediately. You sign Jesse Bates immediately. You sign Trey Hendrickson as soon as you can. You would have saved a lot of money. Now, as it turns out, with Trey Hendrickson, only played 6.5 games this season and will miss the rest of the year. And this was a concern for the Cincinnati Bengals. As much as I dislike Bengals ownership and Bengals management, they were absolutely right to not pay Trey Hendrickson long-term. Because right now, Trey Hendrickson just turned 31 years old, and he is out for the season. He had 7 games that he played, and in that time, even while he played, 4 sacks, 16 tackles, 8 QB hits, 3 tackles for loss. That production is so far below what he had done the last 2 seasons. His sacks were basically, I want to say, halved. His tackles for loss way down. It wasn't good. It was bad. But for the amount that they were paying, bad. His per 17 game stats would have had him at about 9.5, 10 sacks. Okay, that's not bad, but it's not what you're paying for. You're paying for, 12 to 17 sacks in a season. Would have been 7 to 8 tackles for loss, 19 to 20 QB hits. That is not what you pay for there. That was 17.5 sacks the last 2 seasons. The tackles for loss were between 16 and 19, and he had between pretty much 25 to 36 QB hits over the last number of years. So it's reasonable for them to say, okay, well, we don't necessarily want to pay for that. Now, if you're Trey Hendrickson, you probably just want to move on anyway. And somebody will probably be willing to pay you more than what the Bengals are paying. But if you're the Bengals, you do say, well, if you'd like to come back next year on a 1-year deal, we can do that, and then you can get paid elsewhere. I don't expect that to happen. I think this was probably the worst possible way this could have all unfolded, because now the Cincinnati Bengals have more ammunition to say, well, you're washed, buddy. And this is what we warned you about. They love being right. They love winning those negotiations. And you know that they're looking somehow at like this as a victory. They feel, oh, we won this negotiation. We won. They proved us right. And like, I loathe the way that Jerry Jones approached the Micah Parsons situation. I'm just like, man, I cannot believe you would give away a guy that young. And look what he's done. He's got 12 and a half sacks this year. Especially when they want to be there. Insane. Matt Rykeel, we read that one. Sorry about that. C. Hoover says, what a waste of a pick. It was. What's Hendrickson's contract next year? They have the ability to franchise him if they want. But I think there's some dead money there. And yeah, it's a bummer, man. Trey Hendrickson is one of the greatest defensive players the Cincinnati Bengals have ever had. And you're watching this core that you thought were going to bring the Bengals to the promised land. Jesse Bates left because they didn't sign him. Cam Taylor-Britt is not good. Sam Hubbard retired so much earlier than what the Bengals had expected. There were years left on that deal. Logan Wilson traded because he wasn't good anymore. You thought those 5 were going to be, and they paid Hubbard and Wilson like they did. They did the right things there. Mr. Koki says, used to listen to Fightful after all Raw SmackDown 8 years ago when I was watching wrestling. Well, we appreciate that. And he says, Who Day. Everybody is Who Day right now. Bengals win division at 8 and 9. I would love it if they did. Listen, I would be over the moon if the Bengals were able to do that. But as it turns out, it looks like they're probably not. They'll probably end up with a top 10 pick. And Shamar Stewart, like, what's up with him? Is he out for the year? Looks like he's going to be gone for quite a while. I mean, he's already been out, what? Let's see here. Shamar has already been out 4 games. So the minimum of the IR. Do we have an update? I don't know. Bengals Dolphins has officially been flexed to 1 p.m. So Patriots Ravens will be on Sunday Night Football. That's probably a good idea, right? Probably the right decision. I don't know what the decisions were in leaving T. Higgins out there Sunday. And you guys know how I am about faux outrage for athletes, right? I'll tell you where I draw the line on that. Concussion safety. I've only, that I know of, sustained, I think, 2 or 3 concussions when I wrestled, when I did MMA, kickboxing, anything like that. And I was so fortunate that the people that I worked with were so ahead of the curve that even the subsequent issues that I had post-concussion syndrome horribly. But it could have been a lot worse if I didn't have people that were looking out for me. But it got to a situation where I had to have the blinds closed. I couldn't ride in a car. I got physically ill when I did anything. Ended up getting vertigo as a result of it. It can mess you up. And I was never the same physically after that. T. Higgins is a different beast, obviously. T. Higgins is an elite athlete, one of the best wide receivers the Bengals have ever seen, one of the best wide receivers in the league. But there were 2 times that T. Higgins cracked his head and you could see he was collecting himself. When Joe Burrow was working his way back from injury, and everybody's like, oh my God, he doesn't even need to come back. Why are they doing this? I'm like, man, this is an injury. He knows what he's doing. This is different. This is T's brain, man. I want them to be safe with T. Higgins. This is a situation where, okay, season's over. Let's not risk that. Let's wait until we know he's okay. That's what I want him to do. Thank you guys for joining this very abrupt show. I know I don't do these necessarily on a schedule, but I do want you to please check out the videos tab. If you are a follower of what I do in my day job, which is pro wrestling news, as I pulled up my Fightful page right there, I have a lot of videos with wrestlers, with the infantry, Sean Dean and Carly Bravo of AEW, Baron Corbin of WWE fame, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Vic Joseph, Lord Crew, a lot of people like that. And I posted a couple of years ago my reaction to Orlando Brown signing with the Bengals. So I've got some things on there. In the offseason, I'm going to do some stadium reviews, going to do some special shows as well. But I also have a shorts tab where I'll post shorts from this show and many others, and Bengals footage. So check that out as well. Please subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Until next time, we're out.